Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be making a build on the channel, and it's going to be a very light build, or one of the lightest builds I have done on the channel, just because of the frame. And the frame we're using is going to be the Trantec Lightning, I believe, Pro. This is the Kevlar version, not the carbon. It's carbon fiber and Kevlar. It was around 77 grams when we did kind of like an overview review on it previously. And I've been thinking a lot, what should we put on this build to make it as small of a stack and as well as keep the weight down as much as possible. Now, my plan was to actually fit an ass guard on here, but it would not fit. So that was kind of a letdown, but I remembered that I got this guy, and this is the Tattoo F4S. This is the Racerstar Tattoo F4S. Now, this one is pretty awesome. It's a BL32 4-in-1 ESC with an F4 processor and an OSD and current sensing. So that's pretty sweet. That's very good. I really do like these. Now, I have already tested the other two versions of this, but those are regular BL-S ESCs in them. They were the Star F4S and the Star F3S. The Star F3S has a lot of noise, in which we'll need also an LC filter, so it's a bit of advanced. I'll be revisiting that flight controller soon on the channel and show you what I'm doing with it and what has came up through that one. However, the Star F4S was actually very good. Just the voltage regulator and a low ESR capacitor for the VTX, and it flies beautiful, no noise. The OSD doesn't flicker. It's absolutely phenomenal. Now, why would I use a voltage regulator? Because, you know, these don't have a 12-volt regulator. They just have 5-volt for your camera, and you're expected to take power to your VTX from the battery terminals, which does inducing noise depending on how noisy the ESCs are. So, for this one, we're going to skip a voltage regulator, but we will add a low ESR capacitor, just because it's BL-32 ESCs, and we're going to increase the PWM frequency, thus making the ESC run a lot smoother and cleaner. And I've done that through testing, and it shows that it's very possible. You can even hear it in the motor, and I've heard it in the motor. So that's what we're going to do here. So we will set up the Tattoo F4S, which is this one. So this is from Racerstar. It's an F4 processor, 4-in-1 ESC, which are BL-32, which is D-Shot 1200, Betaflight OSD, and does have 5-volt regulator, and it's pretty sweet. It keeps the stack very clean. So I really do like this, and it seems very good. For VTX, I'm going to be using the Matek VTX. And what we're going to do is we're also going to set up the protocol to enable us to switch and change channels and power from the OSD. And I'll show you everything from the first step, which is building it, to the setting up of this quadcopter. Now, for camera, I'll be using a Foxeer XAT 600. I would use the clone also, but I don't have any clones right now, so I'm using this with a GoPro Lens, and that's what we're going to be using here. And for frame, like I've said before, this is the Trantec Kevlar version. This is the Lightning Pro, I believe. Now for motors, I've been stuck on motors because I have two motors in the house right now that I want to use, and it's the F40 version 3. These are the ones that won the multi-GP here. I do like these, however, I'm trying to avoid 23XX motors and 24XX motors because I've ruined all my batteries, and now I need to get more batteries. So it was between this one. I believe this one's a 2305 motor or 2306, so it's pretty large. However, this should be a fairly light build, so it shouldn't be that much of a... It shouldn't be that power hungry to ruin our batteries. It was either between this and the Brother Hobby Returner R4 2700 kV. So I'm going to keep that one for a little bit heavier build, and I'm going to put this one on this build. I think it'll be pretty sweet. However, you know, I really wish they had some other color scheme because it just looks so dull. But, you know, who cares? It just looks, you know. So we're going to test these bad boys also. So it's going to be us testing this guy, this flight controller, and this frame. Now, if you missed my previous build, I've already built the carbon fiber version of this frame, which is a little bit heavier, about 10 grams heavier. And let me just quickly show you guys this guy right here. So here he is. He's pretty sexy, very sexy actually. I'm using the Sunny Sky 2305 2800 kV. I accidentally ordered the 2800 kV. I wanted the 2480, but you know, anyways, it just happened. And what we're using inside here is a bit different. I still have not flown this. The weather has not cleared up yet, but this is a Typhoon 32-bit ESC. It's a 4-in-1 32-bit ESC with current sensing and everything. All the BL32 features are built into it. And we're using for the flight control the Airbot Pro Corner, which even supports ESC telemetry, and it does have telemetry pads by the ESC signal, so that's pretty sweet. And as you can see here, we are running also a Matek VTX, and we're using the Eachine camera. This is a very good, cheap alternative clone. I really do love it. I had an issue with it where the distortion was so bad I couldn't really fly it, but I figured out why. I actually forgot to read the specs. This is 16:9, so if you're using box goggles or any 16:9 capable goggle, you should be totally fine, because I tried it on the box goggle. It was beautiful. It was just like any Foxeer, really. So overall, this was a good camera. There's nothing wrong about it. It's only $20, so it's very good for budget builds. And it does come with a kind of like a GoPro lens on there, so it gives you a nice field of view. So that's pretty sweet. So we'll be testing this guy very soon on the channel. We're probably going to take these two guys out together once we're done, and we're going to see how they're going to do here. So enough about this guy. So right now, what we want to do is we actually want to start on the build. So the build should be very simple and very straightforward. Basically just an Xt60 connector, motors, solder in the wires for the camera, solder the wires for the receiver, and solder the wires for the VTX. VTX should be pretty simple. I salvaged this from a rebuilt diatone on my channel because it was just pointless. I really don't like it. It was heavy, and it was just power hungry for no reason, and it just wasn't performing. I didn't like it at all. So I just salvaged this from it because I'd rather use it on something nice. And well, that's really it. So I'm gonna start preparing everything now. We're gonna just prepare the area here, and we'll start adding solder onto the ESC/flight controller, and we'll take it from there. So let me get everything ready, and I'll be right back, guys. Oh yeah, and I forgot one more thing. Sorry about that. I just got these from Banggood, and these are titanium plated, I guess, or something. Now, I don't know if I've gone through so many hex keys that just kept stripping my screws here, my M3 screws. It was just ridiculous. So I just decided, I saw these look very nice, and I got them. And guys, I really, these are a must-have, really. They're just so beautiful and just makes everything so easy and so fast that I'm really in love with these here. So these are so good so far, and I'll keep you guys updated. But I do highly recommend you grab a pair and you try them out for yourself. So far, they've been lasting very well. And yeah, so let me prepare everything and let's get started. Alright guys, so the first step is we're just going to add solder to the motor pads here. And we'll start with one by one. And I have my soldering iron at 375 degrees Celsius. So you want to take your time and be careful, because these components are very close to each other. And make sure the tip is always clean. As you can see, we had like a little blob thing going on there, and you don't want that. See, that's just beautiful. So just take your time and make sure everything is good, because if you don't, sometimes things can come back and bite you. I know some people complain about the solder tip I'm using, but I've just gotten so used to it that I just use this one now, and I really do like it. So it just works good for me. And this tip has been with me since the beginning of the channel, so it does kind of have some sentimental value. And I'm using lead solder with flux core, and that just makes your life a lot easier. Let me zoom in here for you guys. I want to re-hit this one again. So far they're coming very nice. Let's do these guys. And we're going to clean this. I accidentally touched. There we go. It's coming along nice. So as I see the pads for the camera and the receiver and stuff, they seem like they have some solder on them. So maybe we'll go back and just retouch those, just in case, as you can see right here. They do have some solder. So let's just check it out. What kind of solder? I don't think it's lead solder, that's for sure. So because it's melting fairly quickly. So as you can see, I was kind of hitting it 2 at a time, and it was just working great. So it does seem pretty good now. Let's do the battery terminals, and I believe we're going to keep this for last. We'll get an Xt60 connector with wires, and I usually like to buy them pre-made, but I also do have a bunch of Xt60. I don't want to hit it with too much right now, just a little bit later on, because we'll see how we're going to do it. So just like that will be fine. Alright, so we're basically almost done here, really. Now what we'll do is, so let's start from here. So let's start with S-Bus, and then we're going to move down to the wires for the VTX. We're going to keep the VTX for last because it's stackable. Thus does not have a connector to remove it, and it'll make things a lot harder. So we'll leave this one for last here. So let's start with, let's actually start with the S-Bus. Let me go grab the receiver, and we're going to be using an XSR, I believe, yeah, an XSR receiver. We're going to be using S-Bus. However, take note, if you're using iBus, sometimes this pad doesn't work for some reason. So you'll have to take it from here, from the RX6. So just make sure you take note of that. But I'm going to be using the RX6 here, or sorry, the TX6 for the Matek VTX, so we can control it through the OSD, and it should be pretty good. So let me go grab the XSR, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so I grabbed my receiver here, and as you can see, look, we have the white wire, which is S-Bus, and that's what the one we're going to need. Green wire is PPM. We're not going to be running PPM, but if you wanted to somehow, I don't think that supports PPM. But the green one is for PPM if you need it. This is smart port. This is for telemetry. We're not going to be using it because we would have to bypass the inverter, plus we don't have a spare port to use telemetry. So these two, the yellow and green, we're not going to be using. And we're going to be using the black and red here, which is ground and 5-volt, and the S-Bus pin right there. So we're going to just remove this here. It's very simple. I don't know. I'm pretty sure most of you know how to do this. All you got to do is lift that tab up ever so slightly, and then you can just take the wire out. So just lift it up. It kind of stays up a little, and just yank a little on it. If you think you'll ever use this connector, try not to lose the wires you remove. And this is terrible. Let me fix the camera angle for you. So right there, we need the yellow one. So to remove the yellow one, so what we want to do is just bend it back like that, and then it just comes right off, and then just push it back with your finger. And then we don't need the green one, so just pop it up like that. You could use an X-Acto knife, but be careful because you could, if it's very sharp, you could actually cut that plastic piece off. But don't worry, you can always solder on the other side, but not most people are very good at soldering just yet, so just be careful. See, and you can save those somewhere to the side. Usually what I like to do, if I got a camera for the build, I would put everything in the camera box of that build, everything. So this way, if I ever lose anything, I can just go back and figure out what camera it was, or maybe a motor box like the Emax boxes or something. You know, that's how I usually go about doing it. So let's bring this guy here now, and let's just zoom in. Alright guys, so now we kind of need to figure out the length here. We don't want it too long, but we also don't want it too short. So I think this is more than enough here. Like, we can do anything we want. Put it up here, put it on top. If you put it on top of your quad if you wanted to, that'll be good. And just always wrap them. It kind of keeps them clean, and it reduces the risk of one just going loose and getting squished under something and just getting cut, because that'll give you a very bad day. So like I said, right here should be just totally fine. I'm going to do that now. However, I don't know how good the quality of these wires are, so if the stripper will work, or we might need to use a lighter. And I think we're going to need to use a lighter here. Oh no, it's totally fine. Okay. Okay, this one's better. So always recommend twisting the wires, because when you put solder on them, and you go to push them down, nothing goes loose and touches something it's not supposed to touch. Because last thing you want, one time I had a receiver short out, and there was no way in hell I was able to stop it. It basically sanded down all of its propellers. Luckily no one was around but me, and I basically shit myself. You guys have no idea. Good thing it was shitty motors though, so it wasn't that strong. So yeah. Now we're gonna bring the helping hands, just because people get very frustrated at me because I don't use them, and they say to use them. I don't really need to use them most of the time, but anyways, this is for you guys, and you guys know who you are. So there we go. We have nice helping hands here. Now what you want to do is just touch the wire and just add nice little solders to it. Alright, and then we're going to trim them down here. These are way too long. Okay. So I think right about like that is good. Just about as big as the pad if possible. There we go. So that's just beautiful now. However, this one's a bit shorter, so they're going to be like this, but it's fine. So let's bring in our quadcopter. So we know for sure the receiver is going to be coming back here, so I don't recommend you solder it like this and then twist the wire back. So you just solder it direct, just like this. I think it would be the best. So, and that's what we're going to do here. And actually it'll be easier because the solder would come from here, the soldering iron, so you don't risk hitting these. And trust me, these pop off. I popped one off on the F4, the Star F4. So this is very dangerous. So even if actually you are going to route it this way, I still recommend you solder your wires like this. Just, you know, because if you ruin this board, that's it. You just ruined the ESC and the flight controller and the PDB. So it's going to be a pretty bad day. Even if it happens to me, it could happen to anyone. It even could happen to me right now. But just take your time, take it easy, and we should be totally fine here. So, okay, here's white was our S-bus, and that's what we're going to do. We're just going to put it on top and try to look over the camera and just touch this guy in. It's a little bit difficult to do it while the camera's in my face, but I believe we got him. If I need to retouch him, I will come back and retouch him. Right now, I believe it says 5 volt. Yes, 5 volt and then ground. So we're going to grab this guy. And you could always use tweezers if you wanted to. And I do recommend you use tweezers. But if you think you got it, and plus these are pretty stiff wires, so I can actually just add pressure and I can feel the pressure that's being added here. I'm going to try to solder this while looking at the camera. That's not bad. Okay. You see how we minimize the risk of popping one of those resistors off? It's a lot better this way. So, and I really do recommend this way, especially with these. Because if you do this, then no one's going to replace for you because that's your fault. And Racerstar, you should really stop doing this. Putting components so close to these guys. Alright. Okay, we need to resolder this guy. Perfect. So now we got our receiver. And we're basically halfway done here. So, alright, so that's step 1 done. Now I'm going to grab my camera wires. And I'm just going to remove them. And see, I've already had them wrapped. See, I had these on my Martian, my other Martian, and I kind of removed it because I don't like my Martian. And these are a bit too long, but I'm actually going to keep them this way because we can always just wrap them. And these are nice and silicone, so they're going to be pretty sweet. However, these, you know, small silicone wires, I recommend trying to pinch them and undoing them just like so. You see how easy that was? Because with the stripper, it's very difficult. Depending, well, mine was very hard to do with, so I don't really do it with it. I just use my fingers. or my nails. So twisting, twisting, twisting. I know it's time consuming, but this is a very good habit to get into, and you want to try not to half-ass anything, because it will come back and bite you, I promise you. I've built over 30 quads, and a lot of things are just now starting to come back and bite me. So just be very careful, especially if it's your only quad. Take your time. So here we're using helping hands, and again for those people. There we go. There we go. And there we go. Now let's bring back the flight controller. Actually, before we do, let's just trim these a little bit, like we did with the other ones. Right there, and like so. So that's perfect right there. Alright. Alright, so let's zoom in for you guys here. And I believe, well, you know what, just let's do it this way. I know the camera wires should be going that way, so we should solder them in like this. But I still do believe we should do it like this, just so to reduce the risk of us actually ruining any parts on that aspect right there. So what we're going to need is, let's just go with order. So this is video in, that's perfect for us. So we need the yellow wire, which is the coming in from the camera. So video in coming from the camera, and there's video out, that'll be going to the VTX there. So let's just push this guy on here. Okay, make sure I'm in focus. Alright. It's perfect. Let's just push it back a little bit more for the people that don't like this. There we go. Alright. Now as you can see, it's G, which means ground. So let's just ground it here. But the 5 volt is going to go all the way up here. So that's kind of alright, I guess. Just wire out. And okay, I'm not going to do it looking through the camera anymore. There we go. Oops, sorry guys. Oh, there we go. So we need to add a little bit of solder to the video out. That'll be going to the VTX here. I'm just going to touch the pad with the corner. And there we go. Just added some nice solder to it. So now we need... Now, you know, this is up to you, but you can leave the 5 volt for later, just so it can make your life easier as you're going up the stack. So video out, ground, and then you can leave this guy for later. So you don't have to, you know, worry once you get to here, bump into anything. So it gives you clearance. So just leave them out. I recommend. I'm going to leave them out for right now. Just to make our life a little bit easier. So we just finished the camera. We finished the receiver. Now we need, let's do the motors. And then we do the VTX. And we're done. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Am I missing anything? No. So what I'm going to go do now is I'm going to go grab the motors. I'm going to install them here, and then we're going to see how we're going to route them to the ESC / flight controller here. So give me a moment, and I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, so I've gone ahead and installed the motors now, and they have this weird color scheme, but it looks pretty nice. However, our whole frame is black, so what I did is I've gotten some black heat shrink here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut, I believe, 2 pieces, and about maybe that big. One would be to be right here, and then the other one somewhere up here, but we're not going to heat shrink the second one, just to keep it nice and tidy and very nice. Hopefully it'll give us some nice color scheme, but I don't have any gray heat shrink, so I really can't do anything. So I'm cutting them up about that big. So, alright, and we're done. So I just put 2 on each, and we'll heat shrink these up later. We just want to keep them nice and straight. So once we figure out the correct length that we want here, and then we would just set a heat shrink in that area right there, and then once we tape it, it'll be very nice. So that should be very good. Maybe we should even use 3, or should we just stick to 2? I think I'm gonna stick to 2 right now, maybe before this guy right here, something. We'll figure it out later. Now, overall, it's coming out very nice, very beautiful. It's a very simple build, and it's gonna be a pretty big monster. Hopefully this thing can perform very well. So that's the whole point of this build, is just to test this guy. If this guy doesn't do good, then we're going to replace him with something else. And overall, we'll know the review of this flight controller. Everything else has been tested except the frame yet. So this is basically going to be the frame testing and these motors, and as well as the flight controller. But mainly I start with the flight controller, then I go to everything else. Alright, so now what do we need to do? So now we're just going to start cutting them up into length and just basically soldering them on. It's very simple. Now here's a trick sometimes I use, sometimes I don't. I would grab zip ties, and I would put the zip tie right here, like wherever I want this line to be, and then from there I can actually get the exact length I want. So if I ever tape it, it'll be just perfect. So let me just go grab actually 4 zip ties, and let's just do that right away. Alright guys, so I managed to put only 2 zip ties right now, so these don't get in our way when we're soldering. So we just did the back side here, so let's just quickly zoom in and take a better look. Put it right on the corner here and make sure these are fully flush straight, the wires here, so it'll just give us, it'll be very nice overall. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to cut them to length and start soldering them on. So what I'm thinking is the first wire actually is to cut it just directly flush like that. I think that would be pretty nice. And then the second one, obviously we're going to have to do some kind of route. Now I've seen Chinese manufacturers lately, what they do is they solder it on the bottom. It actually looks pretty nice. But we're not going to be doing it this time because I actually didn't think of it before. Just on these new micros I've been getting, they've just been doing some kind of crazy maneuvers. And I really do kind of like the way they do it. So we'll check that out later, maybe on the next build. I still have 2 more builds coming up. Alright, so let's just quickly get the perfect... So we're going to push it back. As you can see, I'm pushing back a little just to give me some extra slack. And it's always good to have a little extra. So I'm thinking right about there should be fine. So let's just cut that guy. Okay. Don't move any other wire out of the way. They're pretty thick actually, wires that T-Motor are giving us on this motor. So it seems like a monster. Alright. Here we go. Push these guys away now because we really don't need them. Let's see how far we've gotten this. It's still pretty long. So let's shorten it up a little bit more here. Alright, so if I cut it around here. Okay, that should be good. About that much should be perfect. Yeah, and that's just almost perfect right there. As you can see, we're just going to fit that right there. So let's just add solder to this guy. Make sure we twist them as much as we can. Right. And where is the solder? Now what you can do is you can use pliers, or use your hand to hold it in place. I usually prefer to use hemostats. Those are just very awesome, and you don't have to worry about the tension of holding the wire, just to hold it exactly where you need it, because it just holds the wire for you. And these are the hemostats right here. So they have this self-locking. They look like scissors, and once you go, they just lock. So that's pretty good. I think they use these in surgeries and stuff, so doctors use these. But they work perfect. So as you can see, I'm just going to hold it from right here. And just clamp it on the first clamp. And now I don't have to worry about tension of holding it in place. All I have to worry about is just have it to be perfect to where I want. This way I don't even, be afraid to burn my finger. And I can just get a nice, clean solder joint. Just like that. Maybe it needs a little bit more solder. Let's just double check here. That's perfect. Alright, let's just take a look at it. So it's very nice. It's shiny, but you don't see how shiny it is on the kind of angle the camera's looking at it, but it's a nice solder joint right there. So now we're going to take the next one, and I think we're going to see when we add solder to the tip, it'll create it harder. So you might want to go for this, but you're going to find out that it's doing like this. So you want to leave that extra slack because the solder is going to seep through and make that part hard. So if we touch this here, look, it's hard all the way to right there. So that's just all hard from solder inside. So take that into consideration. So something to note. So I think I'm going to use this much slack now, and then we'll see why and how it'll end up. This will allow us to play with the back here, hopefully. Or maybe we could just come in on an angle like this. So let's just leave a little extra slack right there. Alright. Let's twist the wire. It's very important. Now we're going to add solder to this guy. I should move these out of the way because they're very much bothering me. Okay. And again, we're going to use the hemostat here. And after I finish this motor, I'm just going to skip over the rest because it should be the same thing unless I do something different. If I do something different, I'll show that as well. So right there, maybe we should have cut a little bit more. Let's just double check it. Oh, I think it's going to be good. That's good. I'm happy with it. So we're going to need to, it's a bit difficult with the phone in the way. So let's just zoom out and then zoom in digitally. Maybe that'll be better. And then we just do this. There we go. Perfect. So that's good. It's very good. It's fine. It's perfect. And now we're going to do the same with this guy. I'm going to cut him right there. This wire is a bit long here, but we'll shorten it out after we add solder to it. There we go. Now let's grab this guy. Okay. And we will set him in place like so. Hopefully you guys can see that. That's perfect. So you can remove this now, the zip tie, and then we can see how we're going to heat shrink it together. It should come out pretty nice. So that should be good once this is removed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over the rest now, and we come back once it's done. Alright guys, so we put all the motors now, and I've put a low ESR capacitor as well as the battery connector. And as you can see here, I have these very tiny heat shrinks, and I put them there just in case, because sometimes this could twist, and if that does happen, it reduces the chances of it shorting out and making problems. So I do always recommend do this if you can, if you do have heat shrink. I'll leave a link down below to the heat shrink I use. I bought 2 packs and they've lasted me forever. now for over maybe 8 months, and I've been building quads and fixing them nonstop. So just 2 of those packs. I still have plenty, so there'll be more than enough to come in different sizes and everything. If you're only going to use them for building quads and fixing, you'll be totally fine. So now we have the motors in, we have the receiver, we have the camera partly done, so we are going to bring the VTX now. And the VTX is right here. Alright, so VTX, we have positive, negative. This will be power to our VTX. And if we turn it here, we have TX is the green one, and then the yellow is the video. This will be used to control this through the Betaflight OSD. This is our video output from our OSD, and this is our power. So the tricky thing is here is this says TX, and now logic will tell you to connect it to RX, but that's not how this protocol works. You have to go this TX here to a TX on the board. So we're gonna set it up on TX6 right there. And yeah, let's prepare the pad right now. So let's just double check this, fix the camera angle. And as you can see, TX6 is this last one right here. So let's go ahead and grab the soldering iron. And again, guys, I'm using the wrong tip here, so don't copy me, just use the normal thin type of solder tip. Alright, so let's prepare these standoffs now. It's a bit dirty, but once we put the wire, it'll fix itself. Alright, and I need small standoffs, and it's going towards the front because the front is where we have the most clearance. And okay, alright, that should be good. Perfect. And we'll put some on the back here. I think I'm gonna do the same concept for the receiver like I did with the diatone rebuild. It worked out very well, and I think I'm gonna do that also here. So this guy is gonna be in the front here, but let's just not put him in the front yet. Let's get the, so we're gonna get TX now, the screen one. Okay, see TX and vid is yellow. We're gonna get this one, and we're gonna solder him to TX6 right there. So this is a bit tricky, and again, don't use the same type of soldering head I'm using. This would be a lot easier with the normal one. However, I'm choosing to use this, so don't blow me up in the comments, please. Perfect, so that's soldered in now. Okay, and we're gonna get power from the battery here, and to make our life easier, we had a ground they left us for VTX. We're gonna get a ground from here so we don't mess this up here. So let's do power last, I think. Let's do power last because we're gonna have to increase the temperature. So let's do these pins now again. Alright, and move this guy back here. So now we need video out, which is the yellow from our VTX here. So it's this one right there. So what we're gonna do is put them right there. Okay. Make sure the tip is clean of the soldering iron. Maybe I should trim this guy down a bit, actually. Okay, that's good. Making sure you guys could see. Alright, that's in. Good. Now we're gonna take a ground that's from our VTX, which is this guy. He's a bit long. Let's just make him a little bit shorter. This little, there we go. Set him here on the ground, making sure you guys can see. Perfect. As you can see, it's in now. Alright, and now we're gonna get the 5V for the camera. Remember how we left it out? Because to make our life easier, and it actually did. So let's get this guy. It's gonna be a bit difficult because, oh no, it's not. Alright, so need to make sure it's not gonna lose focus for you guys while I'm concentrating down here. Okay, that's good, perfect. So what is left now? Okay, so now we have, let's zoom out. So we have TX to our TX6 to TX, this guy, so we can control him through the beta flight. And as you can see, I already accidentally ripped this off. It was by accident, but if you ever do this, it's very simple. Just keep shorting 2 of these until it starts changing. That's all this does. It just shorts out 2 connections. So that should be pretty simple. And now we need positive power from the battery terminal right here. I wish they had another one for us to access, but they don't. So we are going to have to just take it from right here. So I'm going to increase my temperature a bit here. You know, this might be a sloppy hit, but I don't really care because I just don't want to mess up the other joints. So, and you should be totally fine as long as it's a pretty good joint holding, then everything should be nice and easy. So just increase the temperature to 450 degrees Celsius. It'll be easier for us to hit this very nice and clean. There we go, we got him in. Just decreasing the temperature to 360 again. Perfect, okay. So, actually in theory here we are completely done now. Am I missing anything? Nope. Receiver, camera, VTX. So let's just see how we're gonna set this up now. We have our capacitor. Now we can expect noise, but I really hope we don't see any noise, hoping that the Matek VTX here has some sort of filtration, knowing their products. So this will also be a very nice test for the Matek VTX here. So okay, so this is the camera wire. We're gonna need it in the front. This is the receiver. I'll probably have it out here, like so. I think would be the best. Yeah, like this, and it'll connect to the receiver somewhere, or have it from under, right here. Yeah, I think under is best. So we're gonna set this up like this now. Grab ourselves some nylon nuts, make sure these are very well put down. You don't want to push them too hard because we want the dampening to work. So these rubber O-rings look better than the previous ones I had. I got these from, what is it called? Hobby King. So hopefully they don't disappoint, but it's very difficult to really tell if they worked or not. Alright. So I'm gonna apologize ahead of times now because this one might be flown like next week because we have a bunch of rain this whole week. I was checking the weather, but if there is an opening, I will just quickly run out and fly this guy. But it won't be the best of weather, but you know, at least we know how he flies, and we know if this flight controller is any good, it's bad, if it has some cool options, what settings to run it on. It's a very clean stack, guys. It's very beautiful. Alright, so let me go grab the receiver and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so I found the receiver. I brought the receiver, and I brought this also. This came with the Matek F4 flight controller, and this does come with some frames out there. It's that little carbon plate that just looks like it would be a stackable. So I got this and I cut it just to fit and cross from this like this, because I really don't want this hanging and touching the flight controller, because you know that causes some vibrations to the gyro, which we don't need. So this kind of acts like a guard also. So I'll hold it down right now with some nuts and use some double-sided tape and some zip ties just to hold that right there, and it will just have a nice beautiful stack. We just connect the antenna, put the top on, and we're basically done with this. And use the heat shrink to clear this up and add some tape to make sure these are secured here, because you don't want these catching on a tree and it'll just ruin your $100 motors or $7 motors. if you have $7 motors like I do on the other quads. So that's what we're gonna do now here. So let's move him to the side. Okay, these came with the these nylon nuts came with the run cam split, because I was gonna use the run cam split here, but it didn't work because it would not mount right on the, what is it? It would not mount good on the camera mounts on the frame, the camera itself. So I decided to ditch it right at the end right now before I started building it. Alright, so this is done. Oh, the wire should have been inside, but that's fine. That's totally fine. So where's the bind button? Make sure it's on top so we can always access it. It's right there. Alright, make sure. Okay, we don't want to rip the antenna, so we don't want to add pressure to the antenna. So I believe right there, like this, would be perfect. So let's get the double-sided tape now. Alright guys, well, got myself the double-sided tape. I find this unbelievably strong, and at the same time it's unbelievably expensive. But I don't get this online, I get this from Tesco. I think Tesco's only in Europe. I know for sure I didn't see it in the US when I was in there. Basically Tesco's like Walmart, so in sorts of ways. So there we go. This stuff is unbelievable. It's like super glue once it sticks. However, it prefers some surfaces better than others, but I find that it loves the clear heat shrink, which is awesome because a lot of things come in clear heat shrink. So it's just beautiful, really. So, oh, this came loose. Shit. Okay, well, we have, I think, a problem here. Yeah. Okay, well. Alright, so let's just remove this wire here. Okay. Yeah. These were not holding on very well. How about these guys? Yeah, okay. So these are not good quality here. These are the ones that came with the run cam split, so I'm gonna have to use my own. I knew from the nuts that I was using that these guys were not good. So let me just redo this and I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, so I've replaced it and I was right, they were shitty quality, the nylon nuts that come with the run cam split. So I have these that I get from Banggood, and I find them to be the best. I've used other cheap Chinese ones, but these seem to be very good. They're called Sulive or something. I'll leave a link to them below. Last time I used them and I got the crappy ones, I just ended up just coming back and stocking up on these. These are very good. Alright, so let me show you what I did here. As you can see, we just replaced it, and I added 2 zip ties to wrap around it, and there's double-sided tape holding it in place. I left the boot button accessible, okay? And the way I did this is so I don't really risk it going too far out. We just have it sticking through the top, and that should be more than enough clearance. And all we need to do is just bring the top and connect it, and connect the camera, and we're done. So we're basically complete here. So we're gonna come back, check it out, and see how it came out to be. And on the next episode, in part 2, or we'll call it the beta flight configuration of this guy, we'll go together and see how I like to configure it, and see how I'm going to configure it, and how to update the ESC, and check everything out in this flight controller all-in-one from Racerstar. So let me get everything tidied up, set up the top, plug in the camera, and I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, so we are done, and I've not powered them on yet. We're going to keep it for the next episode. It's nighttime now, and I don't want to wake anyone up. So overall, it's looking gorgeous. It's super clean. Look at the stack, it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So just everything about it just screams beauty. So we're going to check its weight now, and next episode possibly be up tomorrow also. And if I do get a chance, if tomorrow the weather clears up somehow a little bit, then we will straight away jump and go try to get them flown as soon as possible. As you can see, I ran the XSR antennas through here, and the Matek VTX is right there. So this is you know, Matek chose the wrong type of connector because this is very fragile. So what I did is I made sure it's secure. I ran the first zip tie, so this held it down, and then it had too much extra slack. So I just routed it again, and I used another zip tie. And as you can see, the second one's holding it here, and that should keep it fairly safe. It should probably get chopped off, but usually I set up my GoPro lens up here, so it'll be fine. Overall, it's a beast. This just looks absolutely freaking sexy. So I just realized something, that I lost one of the top plates for one of my quads. I remember I had him in the car, but he is long gone. So hopefully, being good, we'll have some in stock for us. So we have these two bad boys we have not flown yet, and it's gonna be pretty sick. I need to still add tape here. These are using the all kinds of the old O-rings I had. Oh no, they're not using. This is the suspended gyro here from the Airbot, so this is gonna be pretty sick. So overall, I mean, two sexy beats have not flown yet, so we're gonna be flying them. It's gonna be pretty crazy. They're just running monster motors. So let me clean everything up here. We'll weigh it in and just see what's the difference. Alright guys, so he is done, and it's just looking just absolutely phenomenal. One of the cleanest quads I have built so far, and I really took my time and took just my care doing this one instead of rushing like I usually do. This time I just set up some, you know, extra time to take my time doing it for you guys. So this one just came out absolutely beautiful. I really do love this one, and I can't wait to see how it's gonna fly. So it just looks like a beauty. So let's actually weigh it, because I think that's the most important part to all of us, really, especially me, since the frame's quite expensive. So let's just zero this out. Okay, and oh man, we didn't even reach 250. So 284. It's a bit on the heavy side. For some reason I can't get anything below 250. Maybe if we use the micro and we use that small VTX, but I need them for this guy. You guys are gonna see him up very soon. This guy's gonna be crazy. So anyways, 284. Let's see this guy here. 289, and don't forget the top plate's missing, maybe another 4 grams, so we'll say 292, and this is what, 292 and 284, so we can say around 10 grams difference. I mean, it probably does make a difference, but yeah, maybe if we use the XM Plus. But anyways, overall this should be absolute beast. I mean, I have nothing to complain about, really. It's below 300 grams, I'm happy. But I really wish we hit like just closer to the 250 gram area. That would have just really been just absolutely phenomenal. Overall, very sturdy, so that's very good. So yeah, so that's gonna conclude it for this video, guys. I really hope it helped you out there, and If you guys have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to let me know. And I'm just going to quickly show you this quad with a battery because I had someone comment that and I forgot his name, and I do apologize for that. So let me just grab any battery next to me here. Alright, so this is how he would look. Obviously I do run my batteries through here like so. That's how it'll connect. And it's very beautiful, very clean. So I was just thinking right now, I don't know if you guys seen at the new Holy Bro Copis or Hopis, whatever that thing is. It's $300, and I believe this one is around that range, maybe like 300, a little bit less than 300 possibly. And don't tell me that that one will beat this one. That one's even 300 grams, 350 I think with everything. This is 284 grams with almost everything. So I don't think that just doesn't justify it for me. Look how easy the build was and look how clean it is. But now we just have to wait for the flight characteristics because I really can't say anything just yet until we fly it. And then we could really say something. So overall, that's going to conclude it for this video, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to let me know. And I will see you next time. See you guys. Take care.